Hola, buenos días. Soy Nico.
We supposed to be a sisterhood, and I don't feel a sisterhood right now.
And today we're here for another wonderful week's worth of content. Well, yes. If anywhere in this video you see me hesitate and or pause, it is because I'm recording this in my mother's office, meaning that she is in earshot of this. Did I want to record a video on 96 loads with my mom sitting slightly in distance? Absolutely not. But this is what y'all wanted to hear. And apparently, last week y'all basically said, we appreciate that you want to give us content, but shut the f up because your voice sounds terrible. So I took the rest of the week off. As you can tell, my voice is back. So I'm here with more content. But before we get started with that, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly live streams, and be a part of the live streams where we have multifaceted conversations about various topics with a varied panel depending on the week. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. And I want to say thank you for everyone who has been rocking with me while I've been taking my break, and then while I took a break because my voice was broken. So thank you for sticking around. We are back to regular scheduled content. And now that we've gotten out of the way, last video's comment was essentially saying, this whisper, I will be charging you for child support in 9 months. I appreciate it because once again, a lot of people were like, ooh, I like the ASMR aspect. And then everybody else was like, girl, keep it cute. Basically, keep it tight until your voice is healed and then come back. So now that we've gotten out of the way, let's get started on the actual topic.
Editing Nico here. I want to apologize ahead of time if I lose track or if I run on a little bit in this video because essentially my psychiatrist forgot to put in my medication order, so I don't have my ADD medication and my Prozac, so I'm just raw dogging life right now.
Today we're going to be talking about 96 loads. Nico, what is 96 loads? So I was originally not going to talk about this because when I talked about 74 loads, I think it was like a year or two ago, people consistently said I was sex negative because I said it is unsafe to allow 74 individuals inside of you within the span of a weekend with no protection and no regulations. As always, I come online and I preach, it is important to enjoy super happy adult fun time. It is important to have a healthy relationship with super happy adult fun time. But it is also important to protect your sexual health because at the end of the day, the only person that is responsible for your sexual health is you. So if that means you have to screen your partners, if you have to get on PrEP, if you want to pick up Doxy, if you want to use condoms, depending on what you want to do, you should always take some measure to make sure that you are being safe and getting tested. 74 loads, that was a different scenario because from what I could understand, he was sober and coherent the entire time. When I saw people making jokes about 96 loads, of course, I thought it was funny. The whole concept of, girl, you stopped at 96, why didn't you just do 4 more and hit 100? You're a quitter because you didn't do the full number. That was the key until I found out that this person was possibly on Tina. Nico, what do you mean? Why do you say possibly? It's because when I went to his page, it has multiple tweets of ParTy and Play with a capital T, along with saying that he was in a group scenario with someone that was on Tina, someone that was on acid, and someone that was on weed. When I said the scenario was no longer funny because Tina was involved, if you did not know what Tina is, it is a street term for methamphetamines. I said using hard drugs should not be celebrated within the community. He came into the comments and said, oh, I don't appreciate you spinning this narrative that I am on Tina and that I do this. And then I brought all of the tweets. People were literally commenting, I'm a longtime fan of yours, but let's not be obtuse here. Like, girl, you talk about it, you allude to it, you say that you're doing this. And now that people are saying, okay, well, that's not safe, you're saying, oh, well, I never directly said it. So take this with a grain of salt. I'll just use this as a broader conversation since he's saying that he was indulging with people who were using Tina. Seeing as how someone commented, I saw the video and somebody literally hit a pipe while they were inside of it. So I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was actually on edibles and someone else was using Tina. Now, when I brought this up, yes, it went viral. I did not expect it to go viral. I sometimes forget my own reach, but I do want to re-emphasize that it is not safe. Now, when I brought it up, this isn't a purity conversation because a lot of people were saying, you saying that Tina is bad for the community, it seems like you're coming from a puritanical point. It seems that you're being sex negative. Y'all are just slut shaming him by saying hardcore, mind altering, life destroying drugs are bad for you. And I had to sit down and think, are y'all just purposely being obtuse? Do you just purposely like to argue? Or are you yourself indulging in Tina? If any of the above are the case, I want y'all to sit down. I'm going to use a napkin to hold your hand while I have this conversation with you, because in what universe, and y'all know I very rarely come on here and talk like this, in what universe would I be jealous that someone is on hardcore substances having 96 people run up in them? In what universe would I be jealous that I am not experiencing that sensation? So when I have this conversation, this isn't a point of jealousy. This isn't a point to slut shame, because I always come on here and I tell you, it is important to have a safe and healthy relationship with sex. When you talk about safe, super happy adult fun time, people like to get into semantics. Well, what's really safe? Nothing is really safe. If you have unprotected, super happy adult fun time with one person, you can catch any STD that you could have possibly catched in the group scenario, which is true. But when you say this, you know it's being obtuse, because statistically, yes, you can catch any STD from a super happy adult fun time encounter, but having large amounts of partners within a 3-day period with no form of scanning, no form of testing, is not safe whatsoever, and you're putting yourself higher at risk. So I'm not going to do the little conflation. Along with people saying, oh, well, I don't understand because clearly they were tested. I mean, super happy adult fun time performers, while they're on set, they all have to be tested and screened. I need y'all to understand that a dumping situation is not the same as a legitimate group scene. As in, when you go through a studio, as someone who has worked with studios, I have told you before, because people seem to think I don't practice what I preach when my health comes above anything. You all get tested. Before the actual shoot is done, the studio has you tested. If you work through the United States, you usually have to put your updated results on talent testing, which basically keeps track of your STD screening so that studios can give you the go-ahead to go and film. So saying someone putting an ad on Sniffy, someone putting an address online and saying just pull up and do whatever, that's not safe. Along with the fact that if you are using mind-altering substances such as Tina, you are out of your mind, aka you can no longer give consent to what is happening to you. So after that point, consent is no longer in the window, you're not being safe, and it's just whatever happens, happens. And I do agree that at that point, everyone that is involved knows what they are getting involved in. Everyone knows what they are signing up for and the potential risks, but it is still negligent to do these sorts of things with no form of screening. Now, I don't understand every time I come online and say, you should get tested and screen your partners, people seem to come forward and say, how can you, someone who has an OnlyFans, have morals and your own boundaries? And that is something that I never understood, because the concept of you put up a tripod when you're having super happy adult fun time means that you can't tell people you should get tested and screen your partners. I feel like I live in the Twilight Zone and that the bar is continuously moved, because when I made this, apparently people were going on rants on Facebook, getting very xenophobic, very xenophobic, like talking about, oh, I'm on substances and something about my chalupa. And I'm like, girl, that's why when we have these conversations, I always tell people, Black people, we may not have the capacity to be racist based on systemic systems that are in play in society, but we do have the power to be xenophobic and or prejudiced. Because what any nationality, language, etc. has to do with me saying, girl, having 96 strangers run up in you while you're high as a kite is unsafe, I don't know. But I also want to clarify once again, I don't do drugs. I mean, I smoke weed. I tell y'all every day, all day of the week, I smoke weed. But I don't do drugs. And when people were trying to say, oh, well, steroids is a drug, I don't take steroids. I've told y'all this in the past when I confronted Jacoby about him putting out steroid rumors. Girl, I have a personal trainer. If you must know, my diet, chicken, rice, vegetables, tortillas. That is my diet. It's boring, but it's fun. So when people are like, oh, you're on steroids, how can you judge anybody? I am not on steroids. I have a personal trainer. I have a log of my fitness journey. I could put it up here where I have to do progress pictures. It is a realistic growth. So me talking about not doing Tina should not, it's I just feel like a lot of people when you have these conversations and you try to raise awareness about serious issues within the community, if a hit dog feels hit, they will holler. So I feel like a lot of people, they just start to throw out whatever's on their mind to basically deflect any personal responsibility that they might feel when these conversations are brought up, so that they can kind of avoid it and just push it in the back thought of their mind. But I want y'all to know, hardcore drugs are not cool. I know I'll come on here, I'm like, cool, fly, sexy, the sort. I'm telling you now, hardcore drugs, Kim, party and play, that's not good for you. It's not good for the community. So yes, we can have a conversation about sexual liberation. Yes, we can have a conversation about sexual health, getting tested and screening. But at the end of the day, we should not be encouraging and or normalizing hardcore substances within the community being used as an aphrodisiac. So if y'all call me sex negative because I say you shouldn't do, girl, I'm sex negative. I don't know what to tell you. I will take the title, but I'm tired of being like overly politically correct to the point that I'm coddling people when this is something that is very serious and is damaging our community. So at the end of the day, if he was using Tina, I do not agree with it. If he wasn't, I still personally don't understand the pleasure that comes from that amount of trauma, because that's what that is. 96 people running up in you, whether it's repeat customers or not, is still 50 to 60 random people running up in you. It gets to a point of that's not even pleasurable. It's not. So to sit here and act like it's sexual liberation to say someone as high as a kite letting some people run up in the hotel room, do whatever they want to them is sexual liberation, I'm not going to co-sign that. But once again, that's the story behind 96 loads. A lot of people didn't understand what was actually happening. They just saw so many people talking about it, but it was essentially DC Pride. It's usually some big Pride event. They go to a super spreader event and then they go back home, sleep with the locals, and it continues to spread. So that's why I tell people, especially if you are having unprotected encounters like this, invest in PrEP. Invest in doxy PrEP, which helps prevent chlamydia, syphilis, etc. So in these scenarios, I say invest in it for the sole fact that we see how the government is going. We see how they're rescinding medication. We see how they stopped funding HIV preventative and treatment plans as of late, because we were actually moving closer to finding a cure for HIV, if you have not kept up with the medical industry. But recently, Trump has stopped both foreign HIV aid along with HIV research within the United States. So once again, it's better to take preventatives and be cautious than to worry about something afterwards, because HIV is no longer a death sentence. Is no longer something that is a boogeyman in the backyard where you cannot live afterwards. You can still have a long and healthy lifespan as long as we have the medication to properly treat it. So you still need to take precautions. But with that being said, I'll leave the conversation up to y'all and I'll see you guys next time. How did you feel about the 96 low situation? Do you feel like, all jokes aside, he should have just muscled through and went to 100? How do you feel about party and play becoming so prevalent within our community? Because a lot of people seem to think that you can't talk about the dangers of hardcore substances and still be sex positive, when the two aren't mutually exclusive. You can literally have as much super happy adult fun time as you want and still be off of hardcore substances. But with that being said, I'll leave the conversation up to y'all and I'll see you guys next time.
And now a brief yet sincere shout out to this week's Third Eye Tier subscribers, Dominique R. and JoJo G. Your continued support is greatly appreciated, and thank you once again to everyone who supports the channel and walked with me when I needed my rake. Thank you once again. Next week's live streams are unfortunately canceled because I will be flying back to New York on that date, but I am excited to see you all at Frolic Weekend coming up along with New York City Pride. Please stay safe until then and enjoy your Pride Month.